Good morning, everyone. This is Leanne from Above and Shiplap and the founder of Sublimation graphics and tutorials on Facebook. If you're joining us on YouTube, be sure to come join our Facebook group. You can find the link in the video description and at the end of this video. And of course, if you're catching us live on Facebook, don't forget to head over and subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can easily find all of our videos after they are live in our neatly organized playlists. Today I'm going to be showing you guys one of my favorite products and an easy seller for your business, and that is garden flags. Now, garden flags come in so many different styles. You have single-sided and double-sided. You have basic white polyester ones. You have burlap ones. You have buffalo plaid ruffle ones. You have there's like two different shades of the burlap type ones. And I can't even think of some of the other ones off the top of my head, but there are like 5 or 6 different versions on the market for sublimation. So it gives you a lot of versatility to offer really any kind of design and any style that you want for your business. Now, garden flags they're not just for putting outside your house. And actually the one I'm making today is for my parents so that they can put it outside of their camper when they go camping during the summer. I do know that people like to use them for all sorts of different things, including even just having them hanging on the wall inside instead of on a garden flag stake, using like a dowel and some string and hanging it up. So if you were thinking about getting into the wall hanging niche, because home decor is hot and definitely not going anywhere, that's like another great idea and a way to use some of the garden flags that are on the market. When it comes to garden flags, especially the white linen ones, or just basic white polyester, I wouldn't really call this linen. One of the issues that I found is that so many of the ones that these suppliers are putting out, once they're pressed, they have like weird uneven edges and poor stitching, and that really deteriorates the quality of your product that you're giving to your customer. I have expressed before that one of my favorite ones is the single-sided from Sublimation 101, and I do have a video on that one. But today I'm actually going to be demoing a single-sided garden flag from Single J Sublimation buy-ins. So the first things first, I like the thickness of the single-sided. You can see it's not particularly transparent. I mean, there's lights behind me, so you definitely would be able to see if it was transparent. And I think that that's great because I have tried a couple from other suppliers that were just so thin that I was not impressed at all. I wouldn't feel comfortable giving it to my customer, on top of the fact that it had really poor quality stitching. The stitching is relatively straight on this. I have a couple of these. I haven't really seen any like major flaws. And I think probably the best part, so to speak, is that this garden flag is exactly 12 by 18. If you've seen one of my other videos, you know that although I love the garden flags from Sublimation 101, the drawback of them to me is that they are supposed to be 13 by 19, but they actually measure like 13 and a half by 22, which is fine. But I personally like my garden flag designs to be full color, edge to edge bleed. That's what I go for. If you've purchased any of the designs in my shop, you know that that's exactly how they are set up. They are designed to be, full bleed, beautiful colors, because that's going to help you maximize the amount of money that you're making off of a garden flag versus something that's just a design in the center. And of course, doing a design in the center definitely works for some types of garden flags and even some types of designs. But I think that especially for these, for the white polyester ones, doing a full color, full bleed design is absolutely the best option, especially when you consider that people can go and buy one that is done that way from, Walmart, Lowe's, pretty much anywhere during the spring and summer. They have the ability to go buy one there for probably half the price of what you're selling yours for. So most of my designs are designed to be personalized because that adds a nice touch. And of course the graphics themselves and everything is all unique. It's not something generic that they buy in the store. And that in and of itself makes people more inclined to spend the money. So the nice part about garden flags is that they're relatively cheap. I mean, a single-sided garden flag typically averages around $2. They're not really that expensive. I personally prefer to get them from suppliers who sell them in groups, like a pack of 6, because it usually helps decrease the cost a little bit. And then of course, it divides out that shipping cost to you. Now, sorry. It divides out the shipping cost to you, and it does make them a little bit more affordable per piece. These ones were not available in a bundle. You can get these from Single J Sublimation buy-ins, or if she has them on hand, you can get them ready to ship for, I think, like 50 cents more than they are at the buy-in price. So you get 2 options there to save. And it's a really nice quality garden flag. I have not actually pressed one of these yet, so I'm looking forward to see how this comes out. And thankfully I have a backup in case I screw this up. So in terms of pricing, for a single-sided garden flag, I price mine at $13 to $15. I think that that's a really reasonable price. I don't include the stake, it's just the flag. And they only cost like $2.60 to ship if this was the only thing that was in the package. They're super lightweight. If I remember correctly, they weigh like 4 ounces if you put them in a poly mailer. So with that in mind, I mean, they ship for like $2.60 all over the United States. So that's definitely a good price point and a great profit margins, because even with your shipping costs and your paper and ink, you're really only looking at about $5 to $5.50 for your all-in cost on an item that you can sell for $15. $10 profit. These only take 60 seconds to press. Realistically, if you already had your designs ready to go, you might spend no more than 5 minutes from start to finish doing a single-sided garden flag. Now that I've covered all the details, let's go ahead and turn you guys around and I will show you what we're working with. One of my favorite parts about sublimation is that for the most part, you don't really need anything fancy to press a lot of the substrates. So like I said, we have our garden flag, which I just showed you, single-sided. Of course, the double-sided are thicker and therefore less transparent. And then we have our transfer. All of these elements are from Lecoq Designs. That's Leqou on Creative Fabrica. This was a special request from my mom. So she wanted, them and the dogs for a flag for outside of their camper when they are camping. So this is not a design that's in my shop. You can head over there. You have to piece everything together yourself. The only thing that I did was create this really beautiful clouded background. I did that in Affinity Designer. My entire transfer was printed from Affinity Designer on my Workforce 7710 using printer jack ink and paper. It only takes about 60 seconds to press one of these. So we'll head on over here. The first thing I want to do is go ahead and pre-press. We want to pre-press, 1, to get all of these wrinkles out, and 2, so that if there is any moisture in our fabric, which there always is, just in case you're wondering, to get that atmospheric moisture out of there. Keep in mind the atmospheric moisture is normal, and you'll notice that certain types of fabrics might shrivel a little bit on the edges, or might even shrink just a bit from the moisture being pushed out of them. This is normal. This is, it's just like when your clothes come out of the dryer. I know I've been really stressing that a lot lately, and it's because it's such a common question that it became apparent. People needed to hear it. So we're going to use medium pressure, which I just adjusted that a little bit. If you're not sure about how to adjust your pressure accordingly, check out the video that I have linked on how to gauge your pressure when you don't have a fancy heat press that has pressure numbers for you. I'm just going to do about 30 seconds. Typically 30 seconds is enough, but if it's humid, you can do 60 seconds. Down here in the South, I always do 60 seconds during the summer, but right now it's winter and it's not humid. So just like I said, you can see that we've got a little bit of, it's hot, a little bit of shrivelage, if you will. And again, that is completely normal. That is what typically happens. It does look like this needs a little bit more of a press because we still have this crease in the middle and I don't want that. So I'm going to just press it again for another 30 seconds. I find with garden flags, it's most important that you get them as flat as possible, especially when you're doing a full bleed design, which we are today. Give this should be good, just another 30 seconds. We'll see when we lift it up here. Well, it's not as perfect as I would like in terms of flatness, but it's about as good as I'm gonna get. I do notice with garden flags that is often the situation. So the first thing we're gonna do is put a nice protective sheet down because this is very thin and I don't want to have to worry about my my transfer, sorry. I don't want to have to worry about my garden flag or my transfer ink getting all over my flag. So what I like to do is actually use adhesive spray for garden flags. So I'm bringing you guys back over here for a second. Sorry about that. So I'm just going to try and center this the best I can. I think that's going to be pretty good. And then I'm just going to use my tape. Probably seems a little silly, but I'm going to use my tape dispenser as a weight. I just find this to be an easy way to do things so that I can kind of fold up half of this. Of course, it'd help if I didn't hit things with my hand, of course. But I want to just be able to fold up half of this and apply some adhesive spray and then do the same on the other side. So I'm just going to use this Loctite multi-purpose adhesive spray. You can get this at any craft store. I like to spray the substrate, not the transfer, and kind of do it at an angle so if there's any droplets, you're not getting them all over your transfer. And we will rub that back down. And then repeat on the same step on this side. A little goes a long way when it comes to adhesive spray. And this spray is available at Walmart, anywhere. And of course you can always use Condi Pro Spray as well, which I do really like Pro Spray. I just hate having to pay the shipping cost on it. So we're gonna be doing this face down. That's why I like to use the adhesive with garden flags, because we're doing them face down. And so it's kind of hard to see to line it up unless you had perfectly cut it to the size, which I don't do. I always like to give my designs a little bit of bleed space so that I can ensure I get that full coverage look that I want. So we're gonna go ahead and put a top piece of protective paper just so we don't get any ink on our press if it escapes out the paper. Sometimes this happens, sometimes it doesn't. It really kind of just depends. Always better to be safe than sorry. And just like that, we are getting our press going. This is gonna be 385 for 60 seconds. Again, we're using medium pressure, maybe erring on the side of firm. I find that this is definitely the best option for garden flags because you have the seams and the stitching, and you really want to try and get as good of bleed as you can. Keep in mind that when people buy garden flags in the store, those ones are usually printed and then cut and sewn, and that's why they always seem to look perfect. And garden flags do sometimes take a little bit of trial and error. I know it took me some trial and error before I really got all the edges flat and whatnot. And again, all that is just from the moisture that's in the fabric. It doesn't have anything to do with anything else. But once this is, flattened out from absorbing moisture and hanging outside, it's going to be different. So we got 2 seconds left. So I'm going to set my heat glove on here while I pop the handle. And we just did that to make sure that the transfer and the cover sheet didn't jump. Because that can cause ghosting. And I'm just gonna inspect this. Very hot. There we go. Peel that right off. Oh God, it's hot. Sorry. It's very hot, as you guys know. And look at that. Those colors are gorgeous. This actually looks better than I even expected it to. I'm going to be totally honest. Let me give you guys a little bit of a closer look. I'm very impressed with Printer Jack paper. I didn't really show that to you, but amazing ink release. And I think that these vibrant colors really speak for themselves. I have noticed that sometimes you can do less time because it's a high release paper. And I have noticed that sometimes less time is more beneficial because certain colors on certain substrates might come out really dark if you don't. But this overall, I think looks amazing. We did a really good job with our pre-press, so everything looks good along our stitch lines. And as I mentioned, these design elements are all available on Creative Fabrica underneath the designer Lecoq. And all I did was piece it together and add this pretty blue sky background in Affinity Designer. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave those in the comments. If you haven't subscribed to YouTube or joined our Facebook group, do that as well because we would love to see you. Have a great rest of your day. Bye.